All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yoga by the Pool. We're in the month of June 2023, and this is my close and dear friend, Melissa Borman, and she is going to be teaching the first portion of class for us today. So just enjoy the variety of our yoga practice today and allow it to really bless your entire spirit, mind, and body. All right,
Great.
let's get ready.
Great. Good morning. And thank you, Lisa, for inviting me again. And thank you all for showing up today online. I appreciate it. I do want to mention just very briefly that I'm new at teaching yoga. I'm very new at teaching it online. And any feedback that you might have, please, I want to learn. So give Lisa any feedback after class. If you feel more comfortable sending her an email, she can pass that information on to me. I take constructive criticism and I want to do well. So please don't be shy with the feedback. Um, Today, I want to talk about and think about the something known as that the ancient yogis refer to as the monomaya kosha. And the koshas are like layers or sheaths that s- surround our that cover our subtle, what's known as the subtle body. The innermost kosha is the bliss body, and that is like if you imagine a light, a beautiful glowing light that is our true selves, our spiritual selves, our most loving, caring, content selves, and these other sheaths are function in different ways. And if one of them or all of them get I like to think of it as fogged up or they're not clear, then the world isn't seeing and enjoying our inner light, our bliss. And one of them that I know I've had struggles with is the monomaya kosha. And that's the kosha, the mental sheath. It's has to do with all this sensory input. It's our what we see, what we feel, what we hear, and also all of that, the mental chatter that we have in our heads. And I find that I often have a tape playing in my head, and I'm not focusing on all of the things around me, the beautiful things that I see and smell and hear. And sometimes I'm even trying to block those things out. For example, here in the backyard, maybe a plane has flown overhead, and I've thought, oh, that's ruining my yoga experience. But that is part of my experience. And the ancient yogis would argue, of course, they didn't know about planes, but they would argue that's part of my experience. So maybe I'm thinking about that I'm part of their travel and their adventure, and they're part of my yoga experience. So this is probably going to seem a little unconventional, but I'd like to start in Shavasana today, a brief Shavasana. And I'll just talk you through some things that I've learned recently. Um, if you put your feet at hips distance and turn your toes in, your toes should just barely be able to touch and that's the distance you want your feet in Shavasana, and then just rotate them to parallel. Um, you can put a small pillow or a towel or something under your head, or a rolled up towel under your neck, just to for extra support if that's comfortable. And then for your hands, your arms, you just want your elbows out a little bit from your body, maybe the width of your mat, but just barely inside the width of your mat. And then your arms extend from the elbow and your hands are up. You want to just barely tuck your chin and relax your face and your feet, and just think about where your body is touching the mat now. Maybe your hands are touching your carpet in your house, or if you're in the backyard, the grass, which feels so lovely in Shavasana. Think about your eyes can be closed. If you're inside, maybe it's very dark and shaded, or I'm outside in the backyard and I can still sense light through my closed eyes. Maybe there are smells. It could be anything from I can smell the pool just a little bit, just enough of a pool smell to be tempting to a swimmer like me. And maybe what I hear is anything from cars to birds to the wind. And I'm just accepting all of these things. I'm not fighting against them. And then breathe. Just be aware of your breath. You're not trying to control it or change it. And I invite you to imagine an old building. Maybe it's an old apartment building. I live in a 100-year-old building. Maybe it's an old house. Maybe you live in an old house or an old business office. Maybe the Union Depot in St. Paul. There's so many beautiful old buildings. As you move through these old buildings, there might be beautiful wood floors that are worn in areas. Maybe there are windows that don't quite open all the way, beautiful sconces on the walls that maybe have been polished a little too much and they're not quite as shiny as they were. Now, you wouldn't say that that's a bad sconce or a bad part of the wood floor if it's worn. You would say it has character. So I invite you to think about your body. Are there parts you refer to as bad? Sometimes I say without thinking that I have a bad knee or a bad shoulder. I invite you to start thinking about those parts of your body that have endured, that have worked hard despite injury or illness. And think about those parts, reframing that like you would the old house or the old building. It has character. It's still beautiful despite, not even despite, but because of the wear and tear. Because all of the history, you to just focus on those parts of your body that maybe you've described without even thinking about it as bad or not working well, and appreciate them for the character that they have. Slowly start moving your toes and your fingers. Connecting those senses again to the outside world, to the sounds and the smells. Everything you feel, is it cool? Is it it's warm in the sunshine in the backyard? Slowly move over to one side, shift to one side. You can use your arm as a pillow. Then make your way to seated. Sit in a comfortable crossed leg if you would like to sit on a block or a blanket. If that's more comfortable, make your way to finding those props as needed. Let's just take a few Kundalini circles, any direction either direction. There's only two that you can move in. Just waking up that spine now that we've had some rest and a reboot. I like to think of Shavasana as a reboot. We get get to start fresh. And switch directions. And come to upright, and we'll do some shoulder rolls back. If you have I have a shoulder with character. If you have shoulders with character, just enjoy them for the clicks and the noise that they might make, but be gentle with that. Remember that maybe that worn part of the floor you're more careful on. Other direction. And then gently stretch the neck. We're going to tilt the right ear towards the right shoulder. Gentle stretch. And then gently turn your face towards the ceiling or the sky to get a little different stretch here. And then down gently towards your shoulder. And then back up to neutral. All the way back up to center and the other side. Ear to shoulder. Inhale as you turn up towards the sky. And on your next exhale, down to nose to shoulder. And again, this is gentle. If you feel any crunching or any pinching, then back off a little bit. This should feel good. Back to neutral. We'll do a few twists as reminded always by Lisa in any LisaBug class. If I remember one thing from yesterday's Pilates, it's that you always want a long spine when you're twisting. And that relieves any pressure on your vertebrae. So sit up nice and tall. Take your right hand, put it on your left knee, and twist gently. This is the first twist of the day, so be easy on yourself. Sitting up tall, you can use your back hand as a little kickstand. Breathing into the twist. Back to center and other side. And again, being easy on our necks, we can do a stretch here, but without really muscling through it. This is a gentle twist. A few deep breaths into the twist. And back to center. Find your way to tabletop, hands and knees. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. We'll do a few cat and cow because these are always good for our spine. Inhale as we lift into cow. And exhale as we arch into cat. And do a few more at your own rhythm with your breath. Exhaling into cat and inhaling into cow. When you're ready, come back to tabletop. And we'll work on some balance poses. And one thing that the Manamaya koshas that helps to clear that fog is to focus. And so often with balance poses, it helps to find a drishti. When we're in tabletop, like in this position, often that point is just above our mat. We don't want to strain our neck in any direction. So just above the top of your mat, find a point to focus on. And we'll start with the right leg up. You can point or flex the toe. We're gonna move into bird dog here, and you want that to balance your pelvis. So make sure that those hips are level. If it's accessible for you today, if you feel comfortable in your balance, you can raise that left arm and extend it as if you're shaking someone's hand. Take a deep breath in, find your balance. Don't hunch those shoulders. Try to relax those shoulders. And return to neutral. Other side. Let's start with just the leg. I'm going to balance off those hips. Extend the right arm. And breathe. So we're going to move through a flow of these where we go back and forth for a couple of times here. So one side, the other side. Trying not to shift too much. You don't want to shift, working really on your balance here. It's about shifting from one side to the other without shifting too much of your body left and right. Now, if this is a challenge, stay here. If you'd like to move into some more core work, we're going to bring the opposite knee and opposite elbow together and hunch up into a cat, round into a cat. And we're just going to go back and forth, flowing between this next level. Good warm up for the spine. Good balance. We think of balance poses as being standing poses, but it's important to be able to balance on your hands and knees as well. And on your next one, when you finish it, come back to tabletop. And we're going to move into downward facing dog, lifting your hips. And this is our first down dog of the day. Pedal out your feet. Send that tailbone up. If you need to bend your knees a little bit, that's fine. You want to make sure that your ears are between your arms. You're straightening your back. Pedaling out the feet. Be finding a sticky part. I know that my left calf for some reason is a little tight today. I don't know why. And then just rest easy in this pose. Trying to find balance between your left and your right sides. Pressing your heels back evenly. Pushing your hands away as if you're trying to push the mat away from your body. Aware of the sounds and the smells around you. The way your hands feel on your mat. What do you see? Are you gazing towards your knees, maybe your belly? I feel a beautiful wind right now, beautiful breeze. We're going to flow from down dog into plank to give the shoulders a little break. Again, shoulders over wrists. And then back into down dog. You'll inhale into plank. Exhale into down dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, down dog. Let's take the left leg high, keeping the hips level. And open up. Bend your knee so that your heel is coming towards your buns. Stretch out that hip flexor. Don't forget that you're pushing back with those hands evenly. Now the center of your weight here is shifted. And you want to keep even weight on those hands. Come back down to downward dog. And let's do the other side. Leg up, and then open it up. All the knuckles are grounding down into the mat. Pushing the hands back and down. If that was a little challenge, you can come down to child's pose or tabletop, whatever is comfortable for you to get your breath back and feel comfortable. I'm going to move into child's pose for just a moment. All right, from hands and knees, come to standing, Tadasana. And we'll move into chair pose. I have shoulders with character, so I like to do goalpost arms. So weight in your heels, bending your knees, arms up overhead if that's comfortable. It could be at heart center. I like to do goalpost arms. And for a balance challenge today, see if you can come up on your toes as you it is a challenge as you are in this pose. If you need to come down for a moment and then back up, that's fine. Take a break. Do a forward fold, bending from the hips. Inhale, half fold. Exhale, fold again. And all reverse swan dive all the way up to the top. Now let's do chair again. Back into your heels, bending, keeping your heart, your ET heart light shining forward. You're going to step back as far as what's comfortable with your left foot into a low lunge. And then forward, staying in chair. Back with the other foot. This is definitely a balance challenge. Find a drishti if that's helpful. And move back and forth from left to right. Forward. Back. Forward. Lisa knows what this is called. It's when you proprioception, I think I've heard you say. You're being aware of what's behind you without looking. If you want to change your arm placement, whatever is comfortable. If this is a challenge, you can move you make your step wider. If it's easier, if you want to challenge more, be like you're on skis so that your feet are closer together. And let's make sure you're even. Do one more on each side. And come to standing, arms overhead. And we'll go to Samasthiti. And take it away, Lisa. You're welcome.
I see some sweat there too. All right, let's just resume where we are there in our mountain pose. And I love the way that lunge really opened up my hip flexors. So let's come into that chair again and step whichever foot you want to step back first. And hold that lunge, tuck your tailbone under slightly and really elongate the hip flexor. And we'll reach the same hand up as the back leg and take a little side stretch over away from your back leg. So we really open up that hip flexor. Take a couple of breaths here. A balance challenge would be to turn your head either up toward the sky or down over your shoulder. And then bring it back in, step back into your chair. And we'll linger on the other side for just a few breaths. Tucking the tailbone to open up the hip flexor, lifting the same arm as the back leg. And just gently side stretching without hunching your shoulder up. So we're elongating through the side waist and the front of the back hip. And you can adjust your head position. And then come back into your chair one final time. Hold. If you'd like to move into Melissa's balance again, lift those heels up just to come full circle in this sequence. Our focus is enlightened and vibrant. And let's drop those heels. Inhale, circle sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold and step back once again to your hands and knees onto all fours. If you need a little padding for your knees, you can take it there. And we'll just continue our theme of balance here with a side plank. So we'll be balancing on our right side first. Let's bring our right knee forward a little bit. Kick your ankle slightly out to the side and open up into your side plank. And then if you feel comfortable lifting the left foot off the floor, let's challenge our balance by doing some leg raises or maybe some small leg circles, a couple each direction. And really use your core to balance here so you're not dropping heavily into your shoulder. And then you can keep this leg up or set the foot down, and we'll take 3 twists, just like a thread the needle. So inhale as you're reaching. Exhale to tip that left hand right underneath your right armpit and look over your right shoulder. Inhale to open. Exhale to rotate. And breathe in. Nice stretch up, expand through the chest and heart. Exhale, reach under. And inhale up one more time. Last breath. And exhale, lower your hand and come back to your hands and knees position. And then we'll move into the other side. So your left knee is slightly forward, your ankle is to the side on an angle, your right leg extended back, and we'll open out into our side plank. Now, if you have shoulder issues, don't worry about lifting your leg up. You can actually lift up onto your fingertips so you're hardly using your arm at all for support here. Or we can lift the leg up and do a few leg raises or a couple of leg circles each direction to challenge our balance. Ankle can be flexed or pointed. And this arm doesn't have to be up. You can gently rest it at your hip. Then either keeping the leg up for more of a challenge with our twist or setting your foot gently on the floor. Inhale to reach. Exhale and rotate, looking behind you. And 2 more. Big inhale. And exhale. And as Melissa said, your spine should be long anytime you twist. So really lengthen from your tailbone through the crown of your head. One more twist. And we'll inhale up, hold, and lower the hands and knees coming back to all fours. We'll tuck the toes, lift the hips, coming back into your downward dog. Now you can always do down dog with your hands on a chair. So those of you at home that have some shoulder issues, go ahead and put your hands on a chair, step your feet back so there's not as much weight on your arms. And we'll walk our feet a little wider, about as wide as your mat. If it's accessible to you, pick up your left hand off the mat. You can just either hold it up an inch or two, or you can reach across to your right shin or knee and twist, looking under your armpit. So this is a lot of pressure on the shoulders, so please use the chair at home if you need, or you can drop your knees to the mat and do a regular thread the needle here, laying your shoulder down onto the mat. And then reach that left hand back out. Stabilize your shoulder. See if you can pick your right hand up. Either stay here or reach across and twist in your down dog, looking under your arm. And you can gently use your hand to accentuate the twist a little bit, but not going beyond your comfortable edge here in rotation. And then reach back out to the mat again. Walk your feet back into hips distance apart. And then lower your knees back down to the mat. We'll do a kneeling lunge, taking a big step forward with your right foot toward the top of your mat. And then walk that foot out to the upper corner here, placing your hands right in the middle. And we want to have the left knee way back behind the hip, so you can kind of pick it up, walk it behind you a little bit. So we're really opening up that left hip flexor. In yin yoga, this is called our dragon. So we're hugging this right knee in close to the shoulder. And we can take it down any amount here. So I'm going to use my block and bring my elbows down. A little bit more of a sleeping dragon as I take it lower. So what we're feeling is this nice stretch through the right glute and upper attachment of your hamstring. And then more importantly, in front of your left hip. So an option with our dragon is to twist the dragon pose. So we can turn our right foot out on about a 45-degree angle and roll out to the outside edge of our foot. This allows your knee to open up. And we can place our right hand on our knee and turn your torso up toward the sky. Or we can take this right hand and wrap it behind our back. That helps us with that shoulder flexibility for cow face arms, our back scratch test. And sink into your left hip just a little bit more. We'll hold one more breath. Then unwrap the arm, come out of the twist, bring both hands down in the middle, center up your right leg, and we'll press back to hands and knees. And you can take a little child's pose there for a moment as we prepare to switch sides. And coming up, we'll take a big step forward toward the top of the mat with your left foot and walk it out to that upper left corner. So we've got a nice wide position between our legs, and we'll bring our hands down to the mat. Or if we need a block, let's lift up a little higher. So the block is just a wonderful tool to bring the floor up to us if we need that for our flexibility. And then we can sink down any amount, putting our dragon to sleep a little bit. You can even support your head with your hands so you're not using the back of the neck a lot for support. And we're hugging the left knee in toward the shoulder, feeling that nice stretch through the left glute and hamstring and the right hip flexor. Now you can remain here, or we'll come into our twist by turning out the left foot on an angle and rolling out to the outside edge of the foot. Our left hand can press the knee open, or we can reach that arm for a half bind and wrap behind our back. Maybe taking your gaze up to the sky, or you can look down toward the bottom arm, or a nice neutral head position. Just try not to let your chin sag toward your chest. Lengthen your neck. One more breath. Unwrap the arm. Come back around to the center. Recenter your left foot. Push off of your hands back to your hands and knees, and maybe a child's pose here. So we'll come into a frog stretch. And for this one, I need some knee padding. And Melissa and I are going to turn toward you long ways on the mat. So we're coming hands and knees this way. Now for frog, a nice option is just a wide knee child's pose. So we can take our knees really wide and keep our toes together, big toes together, and then just sink down into your child's pose here. And if we have a little bit more flexibility in our hips, in our ankles and feet, we come back up and we widen this position with the knees, and we can try to turn the feet out to each side. And we can support here on our hands and just simply rock forward and back a little bit until we find a place where, oh, that feels like a really good stretch right there for the inner thighs. We can use our block for elbows. We can drop our forehead all the way down to the block and just hold this pose wherever your body is today. We're stretching through the groin and the adductors, the inner thighs, and breathing. And again, wide knee child's pose is excellent here. It's a great starting position for our frog pose. Let's take one more breath. Inhale. Exhale and walk your hands in toward you to press yourself up. Walk your knees together. And we'll come into camel pose. We'll rise all the way up onto our knees. So camel pose releases the hip flexors. So we'll squeeze our glutes gently and tighten. Take your hands in fists and place it right behind your pelvis on your sacrum. And for now, just pull your shoulder blades back to open up the heart center and slightly open your throat. So we're not really throwing our head back. Your feet can be flat to the floor, or you can tuck your toes underneath for a little bit of a toe squat stretch. And then let's stretch through the thoracic spine, opening up the heart into any amount of a back bend here. Now, if it feels uncomfortable for you to bring your head back with you, you can just bring your chin forward and stack your head on top of your shoulders. You might be able to reach back to find your heels with your fingertips. And we'll hold and breathe. One more breath. If your hands are on your heels, bring them back to support your spine and rise up. And then take a little bit of a counter stretch by just bringing your hands forward and doing a cat, rounding your back up, opening up your lumbar spine. Then we'll take our left foot and send it out long toward the side of our mat for gate pose. So come on up to gate. So our inner thighs after our frog should feel pretty stretched out here. A nice comfortable adductor stretch. And we'll side stretch toward the right. See if you can reach your fingertips down. And then pull yourself up and side stretch the other direction. You can also place your block over to that right side so that when you side stretch to the right, your hand comes into connection with your block. And then over to the left. So when we breathe, as we're side stretching, inhale and fill your lungs, expand your ribs, and exhale to pull yourself up. Then inhale the other side. Exhale up. We'll do one more each direction. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now imagine you're in Warrior Two. So reach your arms out long. Look over your right shoulder. 2 more breaths. This is a wonderful option for Warrior Two on our knee. Then bring your head back to the middle. Reach your arms down to the mat or a block in front of you. And lower yourself down any amount to stretch. You might even bring your hands way out and bring your forehead down to your block. And if you can slide that left leg out a little further for a deeper stretch through the inner thigh, great. Just take this wherever it feels perfect in your body today on this side. And Melissa reminded me of something wonderful. And she said, our yoga practice is exactly that. It's a practice. It's not a perfect. And each time we come onto the mat, we're in a different place, physically, emotionally, mentally. And so we come to that place with open minds and open hearts to be accepting of where we are in our body today, reminding ourselves that we are practicing, not perfecting. All right, let's walk those hands in. Slide that left knee in. Maybe take a cat stretch, tucking the tailbone, releasing any tension between your shoulder blades. And then release that. Step your right foot out to the side. And your foot can be on any angle here. So you can slightly turn it out. You can make it squared to the top of your mat. And let's come on all the way up to our gate pose. I'm going to bring my block over to the left side this time to support. I will inhale to the left, stretch. Exhale to come to the middle. Inhale to the right side. Which side is more free? Yes, it's to the left. We can go a lot further because of the angle of our pelvis. So when we come up to that right side, our range of motion is a bit shortened. Let's go twice more here. And you can turn your head up if you wish, taking that drishti to the sky. One more time, inhaling left. Really stretch and reach. Exhale, neutral. Inhale, right. Exhale, neutral. Look over your left shoulder. You're in Warrior Two. Drop your shoulder blades down. You can even, yes, turn your palms up a little bit to roll your shoulders back. And then just turn your hands down and let your shoulders stay laterally rotated, externally rotated. Bring your head back to neutral. Lower the arms down in front of you to find your stretch here. You can support your hands up on a block. So bring the earth up to you so that you can be supported. It's important that you don't just hang here in space and not be able to touch anything. It's harder to relax
when your limbs are hanging in space. So find some connection to the earth, sink into that connection, let it support you, surrender to the connection, and then breathe. We can slide that right foot out a little more. And just noticing we might have differences between the right and left sides of our body. And that's just normal. That's who we are as humans. We're very one-sided creatures. So it's not often that we're balanced right side to left with flexibility or with strength or with agility or with balance. Let's take one more breath here. Inhale. Exhale, walk your hands in. Slide that knee back in. Round up into one more cat. And then find a comfortable seat. And just sit with a nice tall spine. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice how you're feeling in your hips. Maybe a little bit more free than when we began our practice today. And let's come to Baddha Konasana. So we'll bring the soles of the feet to touch, allowing the knees to open for one more adductor stretch. And we'll take our forearms or our hands and slightly push our knees apart and press our knees towards our hands. So we're creating a tension here, down with the arms, up with the knees. And it's not really a hard tension on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe about a 3 or a 4, just enough to fire the inner thigh muscles. And then relax that completely and bring yourself forward a little bit. You can press with your hands behind you, or you can reach your arms to the front. Then we'll come up again to neutral. We'll do that twice more. Press down with your arms, up with your legs. Create a small amount of tension, but try not to tense anywhere else in your body. Your jaw's relaxed, your face. Then release and find your edge forward. And maybe for you, your edge is sitting straight upright, and that's okay. Just relax the inner thighs. And then one more time with our PNF technique. Press down with the arms, up with the legs, create a tension, sit tall, lengthen your spine through the crown of your head, engage your core, then release it and fold forward to your edge. And we can use our block to support our head here. Sometimes we can come down to place our forehead. If that's not accessible, you can bring your elbows to your block and place the heel of your hands right over your eyes, supporting your head. If you don't have any of those blocks or tools or support, that's okay. Just find a place where you can relax. And we'll breathe into our back body. So I want you to think about the back rib cage. And if you inhale, try to expand the back of your ribs. And then as you exhale, the ribs soften. So it's like you're filling the back of your ribs like a balloon. We're filling the intercostal space of the back ribs. Just a couple more breaths. And then slowly we'll move ourselves up. So this is our butterfly stretch. We'll take the right leg and now extend it out, but I want your body to stay facing forward. So all I did was remove that right foot from where it was in connection and extended it out a comfortable distance. So now let's take a breath in, reach up, exhale and hinge forward and stretch here any amount. Again, you can bring your hands behind you. You can place your hands on a block. And we'll just hold here 3 breaths. All the muscles of our body are softened and relaxed. There's no gripping or tightening or tension. As you rise up, let your arms come up with you. We'll inhale. Exhale and turn toward the extended leg with your torso and fold over. If you have your yoga strap handy at home, you can loop that under the bottom of your foot. Just 3 breaths. Let your arms come up with you as you inhale. And exhale to center. Bring your right foot to meet your left. Your left leg extends any distance, but it doesn't change the position of your pelvis. So everything is straight forward. This knee can be bent if you need, and you can actually use a prop to support it if you need to here. And we'll take our breath in. Hinge straight forward. Exhale. 3 breaths. The arms rise. Inhale. Turn to face the extended leg with the torso. Exhale. Reach any amount. 3 breaths. Inhale, lift the arms and relax them down. We have both legs extended out wide now for our dragonfly. So try to sit up on your sitting bones. Move the flesh around a little bit. If you need to be up on a blanket or a block to help you with this pose, make those adjustments. We'll inhale to reach. Exhale to fold in the middle. You can also use your arms from behind. It's a nice option. It helps you to keep your back straight. And now we'll hold 5 breaths. Or even longer. If you're watching later on YouTube, you can pause the video and just stay here. We'll be here for you when the time is right to come out of this pose. And then we'll come up. You can lift your arms or you can just use them to help press you up. Come back to an easy, comfortable seat. Easy pose. You can sit in a chair for a moment as we just come into a little bit of seated meditation. Spine is long. The breath returns to a gentle flow in and out through the nose. And just notice after your practice today if you feel a little less foggy, feel a greater sense of focus. And our yoga practice is a journey. So sometimes we don't see improvements in areas we'd like